Fresh cheese is where all cheese begins. Because technically, cheese is just milk that's been split into curds and whey. The earliest versions likely happened by accident around 7,000 to 8,000 years ago, when people carried milk in animal stomachs that naturally contained rennet. The milk would curdle on its own, creating something more stable and edible. Fresh cheeses like ricotta, mozzarella, chèvre, and cottage cheese skip aging entirely, which is why they stay soft, moist, and mild. With no time for flavors to develop, what you taste is almost entirely the milk itself. That's also why they spoil faster than any other category. In Italy, fresh mozzarella is often eaten within hours of being made, sometimes the same day, because even a slight delay starts changing its texture and flavor. Soft ripened cheeses take a completely different approach by introducing mold, but only on the surface. These cheeses are sprayed or inoculated with penicillium mold, which forms a thin white rind that slowly breaks down the interior from the outside in. That's why cheeses like brie and camembert transform as they age. When young, they have a firm, chalky center, but as the enzymes from the rind move inward, the inside becomes soft, gooey, and almost liquid. The flavor shifts too, developing buttery, earthy, and slightly mushroom-like notes. Camembert was first made in Normandy in 1791, and historically, it was so fragile that it couldn't be transported far until wooden boxes were invented to protect it. Semi-soft cheeses sit in a middle zone where moisture and structure are balanced. They're soft enough to melt smoothly, but firm enough to slice cleanly. Cheeses like Havarti, Fontina, Munster, and Young Gouda fall into this category. A lot of these cheeses were developed in monasteries across medieval Europe, where monks had the time and consistency to refine techniques. Munster, for example, originated in Alsace and was named after the monasteries that produced it. These cheeses often have small, irregular holes caused by gas-producing bacteria during fermentation, and their mild, creamy flavor makes them some of the most versatile cheeses in everyday cooking. As aging continues, cheese enters the semi-hard stage, where moisture drops further and flavors begin to concentrate. These cheeses are typically aged for a few months up to a year, and this is where you start tasting nuttiness, tang, and more complexity. Cheddar stands out here because of its unique cheddaring process. After the curds form, they're cut into slabs, stacked, and repeatedly turned. This pressing removes whey and aligns the proteins, giving cheddar its dense, slightly springy texture. The process was developed in England centuries ago and is still used today. Comté, another semi-hard cheese from France, is made in massive wheels that can weigh over 80 pounds. And its flavor changes depending on the season because the cows graze on different plants throughout the year. If you keep aging cheese, it eventually becomes hard. At this stage, moisture is so low that the texture turns granular and crumbly, and flavors become highly concentrated. Parmigiano Reggiano is one of the most controlled foods in the world. It must be made in specific regions of Italy, using strict methods that haven't changed much in centuries. Each wheel is aged for at least 12 months, and inspectors test them by tapping with a small hammer and listening for internal defects. Over time, hard cheeses develop tiny, crunchy crystals, which are actually amino acids like tyrosine forming as proteins break down. These cheeses are rarely eaten in chunks. Instead, they're grated or shaved because their flavor is so intense. Blue cheese works differently from almost every other type because the mold grows inside the cheese instead of on the surface. After the wheels are formed, they're pierced with long needles to allow oxygen inside, which is what activates the mold growth. Roquefort is one of the oldest known cheeses and is still aged in natural caves in southern France, where the mold occurs naturally in the environment. According to legend, it was discovered when a shepherd abandoned his lunch in a cave and returned months later to find it transformed. The flavor of blue cheese varies widely depending on the type. Gorgonzola Dolce is soft and mild, while Stilton is firmer and more earthy, and Roquefort is sharp, salty, and almost peppery. Washed rind cheeses are known for their strong smell, but that smell is the result of a very controlled process. During aging, the surface is regularly washed with brine, beer, wine, or even spirits. This encourages the growth of specific bacteria that give the rind its orange color and pungent aroma. Cheeses like Taleggio, Epoisse, and Limburger can smell extremely intense, but the inside is usually soft, creamy, and surprisingly mild. The contrast is what makes them unique. In many regions, these cheeses are traditionally paired with the same liquids used to wash them, creating a direct connection between the cheese and its local environment. Some cheeses are defined not by aging, but by technique. Stretched curd cheeses like mozzarella and provolone are made by heating the curds and physically stretching them. This aligns the proteins into long strands, which is why these cheeses melt smoothly and create that signature stretch. Whey cheeses, like ricotta, come from the leftover liquid after making other cheeses. Instead of wasting it, cheesemakers heat the whey again to form new curds. This process produces a lighter, softer cheese with a slightly sweet flavor. There are also cheeses that don't fit neatly into any category. Norwegian brown cheese, or geitost, is made by boiling whey for hours until the milk sugars caramelize, creating a dense brown block that tastes more like salted caramel than traditional cheese. What makes cheese unique is that it's not static. The same cheese can completely change depending on time. A cheddar at 3 months is soft and mild, but after a few years, it becomes hard, sharp, and full of crystals. In a way, cheese isn't just one food. It's a timeline of transformation shaped by bacteria, time, and environment.